Greetings, fan of our videos! Don't forget to give us a like if you like our work and subscribe to the channel to be among the first to know about the most exciting stories. Your likes are the source of our inspiration to create something new, and your subscription supports and stimulates our development. Little Sins, Chapter 3. She turned to face me and hugged me. She kissed me, her first real kiss. Finally, she pulled away, kissing me gently one last time. Damn it, John. That was so good. You didn't have to do that. You know that. I wanted to. Since when? She teased. About 30 seconds after you entered my house. You're not a night butterfly. Why are you doing this? She stopped. I'm doing it. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. There was sadness in her voice. Then she perked up. The good news is that I sold out to you. You want more from me. She'll never understand that. You know that. I'll be good. She grinned and kissed me again. All I want to do now is hug you. Beautiful. Do you mind? She smiled, for once sincerely. I think I'd like that. So I did. I put my arms around her and kissed the top of her head. After a few minutes, she whispered, We need to stop. Why? You shouldn't get attached to me. I'll be gone soon, and you'll never see me again. What if I want to see you again? I asked. No. I'm not going to destroy your marriage. You love each other. I don't know why, but it's obvious. You'll work it out. Don't make me the reason, please. Just a couple more minutes, then. She nodded. That would be nice. About 5 minutes passed when she stood up. She was smiling her fake smile again, and it broke my heart. Okay, big boy, I'm going to make it even nicer for you. I laughed, grabbed her, and hugged her. No, you take a luxurious bath and I'll start breakfast. We'll still have plenty of time for that sort of thing. A whole weekend. Promise? Cross my heart and hope to die. Go clean yourself up, you smell. She laughed. The curse of the working girl. Don't forget the bacon. I left her, pulled on my shorts, and went in search of my wife. I found her in the kitchen talking on the phone. She saw me, turned away, and ended the conversation. Who was that? No one, she said. I snatched the phone from her and checked the call log. Your sister. Hasn't she caused enough trouble? What, you're going to blame her for bringing home that fool? I dialed the number, and Alice picked up. Is she still there? She asked. Good morning, Alice. Put Dave on. She hung up. I handed Wendy the phone. If I don't talk to Dave in 5 minutes, I'm kicking you out of the house and we're done with this. She looked shocked. What? You heard me. Dave's on the phone in 5 minutes. I can't make him do that, she objected. Your sister can. I'm not kidding. She's poisoned you. You keep coming back for more like a dog eating its own vomit. I swear, Wendy, if I don't talk to him in 5, your ass is going to fly out of here. I'm going to start divorce proceedings on Monday and be back on those stairs to do whatever I want to Kelly. Probably all week long. Take your pick. She angrily snatched the phone from me and ran out of the room. I started laying out the dishes and turned on the waffle iron. Wendy came back in about a minute. He's not there. Less than 4 minutes. It's not there. I can't do anything about it. She screamed at me. Not my problem. Find out where he is. Get a message to him. Whatever it takes. She scurried out of the room and was back in less than a minute. She won't do that. 2 minutes, honey. She won't call. She won't call him. She doesn't want you to talk to him. I think she'd gladly break up your marriage as long as it didn't interfere with her. Quite the loving sister. You'd better get dressed. You don't want to walk out the door looking like that. Stop it, John. Stop harassing me and threatening me. You're going to get us killed. No. You already did that with your sister's help. I put the bacon in the pan and returned the 2 eggs to the refrigerator. I tried, John. I tried. She was right. All you want is to be able to spend your evenings with other girls. I'm not going to put up with that. Is that how you want your damn divorce? You can have it. I'm leaving you. Why don't you call your sister and see if you can stay with her? Great. That's what I'm going to do. I'll take your baby and make your life a living hell. I'll get half of everything, half of your savings, half of your 401k. You'll have to give me money, and if you don't give me enough, you'll never see your little girl again. How do you like that? Sounds like your sister is giving you advice. That's right, I don't need you. I don't have to put up with this. I didn't do anything wrong. You're the one who cheated, bringing a girl into our bed, not me. Call her. Tell her you're moving. I hate you, she shouted, turning away. The mixture was ready, and I started the first waffle. I jogged to the master bathroom. How do you want your eggs, Angel? She was cute as a button, sitting in a tub filled with bubbles. Easy, she said, if it's not too hard. I grabbed one of my t-shirts and left it in the bathroom. Why don't you wear it when you get out? I think you'll look very attractive in it. She smiled. I like to wear a man's shirt. Is she really leaving? Probably not. She won't realize it until a few minutes later. Damn. After all that yelling, I thought maybe you'd come to your senses and we could finally have some real fun. It's not out of the question, I teased. Gotta go before something burns. I had finished cooking when Wendy came back into the kitchen. She won't let me stay in there. Of course she doesn't. She can't have Dave asking questions, can she? I walked over and hugged her. She tensed, then grabbed me and started crying. Shh. If you want to talk to someone, talk to your mom or Marcy. Why Marcy? She's been divorced twice. She was caught cheating once and had a husband who cheated on her. She can keep a secret and will understand. Besides, as far as I can tell, you didn't give her husband a little gift. Do I have to leave? No. I'll find a way to talk to Dave. But you have to stop talking to your sister. You realize that, don't you? No, not really. She's just trying to help. Talk to your mom. Tell her everything. Then you'll understand everything, okay? You don't even like my mother. Sometimes I don't, but I respect her and your father, and I know she loves you and her granddaughter almost as much as I do. You're not going to do anything more with that little fool, are you? That little fool, as you like to call her, cares a lot more about our marriage than your sister does. Hell, after your behavior, probably even more than you do. She won't let me do anything more, as you so eloquently put it, if it interferes with our marriage, no matter how much I pay her. Kelly walked in, wearing my shirt and drying her hair with a towel. She walked over to me and set her lips up for a kiss. Of course I said yes. He's right, you know. I wouldn't have let him, not unless I really believed it was over. Why don't you and I talk after we eat? Why should I want to talk to you? Snapped Wendy. Because I want to help you. I'm not going to judge you. And I know a little bit about where you're coming from. You don't want to end up like me. I would never be like you. I don't mean that. I mean loneliness. Trust me, it's much worse than that. After we eat, okay? Because I'm starving, she said, smirking. Gotta keep up your strength, you know. Someone like me is not an easy job. We ate under a flag of truce. No talk of cheating, no name-calling. We talked about Jeannie and our home, about my job, and the chances of the skins ever being good again. We discussed art and what would look good in the dining room. It was a nice, normal conversation. At the end, Kelly stood up, thanking me. Can we postpone the next moment for a while? And could you take care of the dishes, please? Sure, you girls talk all you want. I can watch soccer and relax. Probably not the wisest move, at least in the short term. I put everything away and headed for the shower. The girls were in the bedroom, and the bed was made. Kelly was in Wendy's outfit. When I opened the door, they came out, whispering to let me use the bathroom. After tidying up, I went back to the family room, and the girls headed back in a huff. They both stopped for a moment to kiss me, which was nice. I had a couple beers while watching the surprising Redskins win. Our rookie QB, RG3, was starting to look like a savior. I got up to grab a bite to eat before heading to the second game. I knew they weren't keeping the discussion a secret. The phone rang a couple of times, but it was picked up immediately. I had no desire to look for the phone or eavesdrop. I could only hope that they were thinking about who to bring in. I decided to prepare a tray for the girls and opened a bottle of Wendy's Pinot Noir. I knocked on the bedroom door where I could hear them chatting. Come in, Wendy called out. I opened the door. I'm not here to invade or chase you away, I said disarmingly. I thought you might want to grab a bite to eat. They sat cross-legged on the bed, facing each other, knees touching. I'll just leave it here, I said. Let me know if you need anything else. Kelly looked at Wendy, smirking. See? Does that sound like a man who doesn't love you? I was stunned by her words. I walked over and sat down next to my wife. Surely you don't believe it? She shook her head. I don't know what to believe. I'm so confused, John. I put my arm around her shoulders. I love you more than anything in the world. Don't think for a second that I don't. It doesn't matter what else happens. I love you, and I always will. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me. I kissed her cheek. I'll be watching the game if you need me. Kelly jumped off the bed and met me at the door. I'm sorry it took so long. I think we're going to be here a while longer. Do you mind? Sure. I think I'll order dinner. Chinese food for everyone? They both nodded, then Kelly wrapped her arms around my neck. It's going to be okay. I know it will be. She pulled me to her and gave me a quick kiss. Did we win? I smiled. Kicked ass. She raised her hand in greeting. Good. She did a little victory dance that made me tense up. I laughed at her cute antics and fell silent. They cleaned up after themselves and walked around the house, chatting, and sat on the porch for a while. I didn't think they would last long. It was pretty cold outside. During a break in the game, I looked outside, but they were gone. I walked to the double doors and saw them in the yard. They were hugging each other, not what I expected, but I wasn't about to get involved. They came in a little later, and I saw that they were both crying. Is everything okay? I asked. Wendy came over and sat on my lap, wrapping her arms around my neck. No, not yet, but it will happen, I promise. She kissed me softly, and I hugged her. I love you, John. You're my whole world. I smiled and kissed her back. I love you, too. I asked my mom to take Ginny. I thought we'd give your mom a break. We won't have to pick her up until tomorrow afternoon. I miss her. Me too. I think it's good for us to be away from her. To know how things could have been. Don't say that. We'll be fine. She nodded. I know. Thank you for my life. I couldn't have wished for a better man. She pressed her lips to mine, and I saw tears fill her eyes. She stood up. I'm really sorry. I really screwed up. It's over. We'll get over it. She smiled and went back into the bedroom. Kelly climbed into my lap. Can I have some, please? I wrapped my arms around her and kissed her gently. Thank you, I whispered. She shrugged. She'd get to that point eventually. She adores you, you know that. It's been very hard on her. I know. I wish it had never happened. No, you'll be better. Stronger. You'll never have a crisis like this again. I squeezed her in my hands. How did such a young lady become so wise? I'm only young on the outside, John. She kissed me again, and I tasted her salty tears before we stopped. She got up and ran after my wife, leaving me puzzled. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, I called Hunan Palace. I ordered way more than we could eat, since I didn't know what Kelly would like, and I like leftovers anyway. I went back and knocked on the door. Food will be here in 40 minutes, I announced. Kelly opened the door, smirking. She grabbed my hand. Great, just enough time for a little present. She laughed and dragged me into the room and then started. Wendy watched us with a smile. Kelly turned and nudged me to sit on the bed. Take his shirt, she said. My wife did it. She giggled and pushed me on my back and then started doing it all by herself. A couple times I started to ask questions but stopped myself. I'm not as stupid as I look. Ready for the best little gift of your life? Asked Kelly, smirking and wiggling her cute body. It has to be my wife, I told her. Ding, ding, ding. Give him a cigar. Kelly laughed. From now on, no little gifts for either of you, unless it's for each other. Sorry, those are the rules. I laughed. Why are you in that form then? Asked I. I'm just a little entertainment for the eyes. Hell, I gotta earn my paycheck somehow. She snuggled up to me, resting her head on my shoulder, and we both watched my wife try her best to give me the best little gift in the world. She was constantly looking at me. Every action, every movement spoke of her love for me. She's the best, isn't she? Said Kelly softly. Always. Why did you say I did? You were magnificent, Angel. Physically, technically, superb, without equal. But without love, it's just a shadow of the real thing. Wendy made me groan with pleasure as she stopped and pulled herself up on the bed. She grabbed my hand and placed it on Kelly's. I trust you. Enjoy. She grinned, noticing my surprised look, and Kelly giggled. Wendy's lips drew together again. After all, it's paid for, she teased. Feel me, pretty stranger. The truth was that Kelly was distracting me. A very nice distraction, but I was happy to focus on the work my wife was doing. It was very enjoyable, but it would take me forever to finish this game. I'm jealous, Kelly said quietly. I wish it was me. I gave her a tender kiss that lingered and became more passionate. You've done your job, Angel. I think we'll both owe you a great debt of gratitude until this is over. Keep feeding me and don't forget to tip, she teased. Give her points for trying. The doorbell rang, and I almost felt like crying. Kelly jumped up from the bed. Don't let this interrupt you two. I'll get the door. The meal was paid for by credit card. All you have to do is sign for the tip, I told her. She giggled, doing a little spin. You don't think opening the door like that is tip enough? Some of their couriers are women. She grinned, raising one eyebrow. So? The doorbell rang again. Come, you little tease. She skipped out of the room, laughing. It was nice to see her in such a good mood. My wife took this as a cue, and she had no trouble accomplishing this simple goal. She had had more than enough practice. She climbed out from under the foot of the bed and lay on her side, resting her head on my stomach, blocking my view. The best part was that I could reach up to her, stroking her hair. I had a flicker of a thought of her servicing other guys, but it quickly faded away. I knew what she was doing, but I was also sure that it was nothing like what she was doing to me. She might have taken them, but she'd never made love to them. Of that I was sure. But it never ceased to annoy me that some other bastard was touching her. She was unaware of my problems and continued to drive me to finish things. I gave no verbal warnings. The changes in my own sounds were familiar enough. It was all wrapped up. As a reminder, the full uncensored scene can be listened to on our Patreon. Wendy seemed to be over the moon, and I know she was. Kelly trotted into the room and took a position across from my wife. Holy crap, did I miss an important finish line? You couldn't wait? My wife laughed. Sorry, but you're not too late to help clean up a bit. Really? Cool, she replied, joining Wendy. Watching, at all of this, was enough to make the steel return again. Wendy pulled away, laughing. No way, buddy. That was just to keep you from going crazy. We're going to eat now, and we have some more things to discuss and plan. I promise you'll have another treat later. I was fine with that. It was just unbelievable. Wendy reached up and kissed me. The best? That's cheating. You were listening, weren't you? She nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. Are you serious? Really? Because I saw her, and she was awfully good. You were always the best, love. Always. And so are you. No one compares to you, I swear. I was such a fucking idiot, but it won't happen again. My mouth belongs to you now, and no one else. Kelly was still playing with me. My wife kissed me, then got off the bed and slapped our new friend. That's enough, you little tease. Dinner is calling. Kelly stood up. She gave Wendy a hug. Thank you for sharing. That was pretty epic. Damn, you have his number. There's a lot of practice, even if I've been slacking off a bit the last few weeks. Watching you has been very educational, she admitted. Kelly kissed her quickly without helping me. She let go of me and grabbed Wendy's hand. Come on, let's go. He's ordered us a feast. And all the best stuff. If you don't stick with him, I'm going to have to kick your ass. Wendy smirked, looking at me as I pulled my shorts on. If I don't hold it in, you'll have to get in line to kick my ass. I still found it difficult to reconcile the difference in their attitude toward each other, but I did not complain. Everyone seemed happy, and the house was as cheerful as it had been in a long time. Kelly set up plates and chopsticks on the kitchen table and placed a bottle of wine in the middle. We all got down to business, sharing and sampling everything. There were even a few fights over the last of the scallops and bits of lobster in several dishes. About halfway through, Wendy pushed herself away from the table and took off her shirt. I'll be damned if I'm going to be the only one who doesn't walk around like this, she laughed. Besides, I think it's the one thing I have an advantage over our guest. Kelly laughed. Like anyone would believe that. You're pretty, and I might be pretty if I'm cross-eyed and dark enough. And that body. Damn, woman, you've got it all. Wendy grinned. You have all that too, only younger and tougher. That's enough, I told them. This isn't a competition. No offense to you, Kelly. You're attractive as hell, but Wendy is the most beautiful woman I've ever known. Not accepted. I'll have to accept. I've never done girls, but if I was going to start, I know who I'd like to see first. Wendy blushed, and it was adorable. We ate until we were full and finished almost the whole bottle. The girls cleaned up the leftovers, and there was a lot left. When I tried to help, I was pushed out of the kitchen. I settled into my lazy boy chair and turned on the evening game. I couldn't remember the last time I'd watched 2 games in one day, let alone 3. The girls laughed amicably as they entered the room and then started running towards me, playfully nudging each other to see who would get to me first. Wendy won, but I'm sure Kelly let her. My wife jumped into my lap, leaned against me, and nuzzled me, laughing lustfully. God, I love you so much, John. We've played so little. I couldn't stop laughing. You're right, as always. We don't laugh anymore. She leaned over and kissed me. I'll make it better, love. I promise. You're off to a hell of a start. Kelly got tired of waiting and plopped down on the arm of the chair, nudging Wendy with her shoulder. Stop taking this handsome boy away from me. You have your whole life to play with him. I have the last few hours left. Wendy gave me a quick kiss, and I saw her grin mischievously. I knew she was up to something. She got off my lap and practically ran away, giggling, while Kelly took her place. Kelly kissed me. You know, you're even more beautiful when you're happy. You should smile more. It's hard to hold on when you two are around each other. She leaned forward, and I wrapped my arms around her. It certainly wasn't like that yesterday. You realize you were made for each other, and you'll be miserable without her. You'd certainly better make it work. I know you will, and in no small part because of you. I wasn't attentive enough, and my wife climbed into my lap behind Kelly. What have you been doing, Trouble? I asked her. She giggled and I saw her arms wrap around Kelly's body. I was shocked. She pulled her hands away and I saw that she had left behind a mess. It looked like peanut butter. Hey! Kelly laughed. What are you talking about? Now we have a peanut butter sandwich and Kelly. Kelly and I both giggled at the horrible pun. What? You know it's funny. My wife pouted. You made a mess, I told her. Then I guess you'll have to tidy her up then. Get to work, lazy bones. She leaned back, pulling Kelly behind her. I put my head down and began diligently scrubbing the peanut butter off Wendy's hands and fingers. It was fun. After a couple of minutes, you could feel the change in atmosphere. Kelly was just saying, God, that feels so good. I jerked away from her with slight regret. There, I think we're clear. Kelly pouted. No, I'm dirty. Wendy shook the tit she was holding. I think you missed a spot. I leaned over and cleaned it all up one more time, then watched Wendy spread some more peanut butter on Kelly. Nah, you'll have to take care of that yourself. Now go before I get carried away. They each rewarded me with a final kiss and they left, leaving me with a nagging ache to watch the soccer game. Not 10 minutes later, the front door opened and my mother-in-law walked in. I stood up and made my way toward her, glad to see that the evidence of the girl's playfulness had subsided in my shorts. Hi, Mom, I greeted her. She smiled at me, which was nice. She could be prickly. She came over and gave me a hug. I'm sorry I was rude to you on the phone. I was upset, and you know how I can be. I hugged her back. I know. I only called you as a last resort. She almost knocked my socks off if I had them on when she pulled my head down and kissed me on the lips. Thank you. I know it must have hurt, what she did. A lot of men wouldn't have handled it as well as you did. Hell, I know I wouldn't have handled it. You're a good man, John. You're welcome, she laughed. Ginny's at the house with Ed. Where are my girls? In the bedroom. She threw me a cheerful glance. Does she really walk the streets? I nodded. Yeah, but not like all the streetwalkers I've ever heard of. Carol laughed. No, I guess not. I'm going to go back and join them. And you hang in there. She walked away, but turned around after taking a few steps. As for Alice, we'll deal with her. You don't have to worry about that. Leave her to me. Thank you, Mom. She grinned, then turned back to me and gave me another tight hug. I have a confession to make. Sometimes I thought you called me Mom in a very familial way, even kind of disrespectful. And now it gives me goosebumps. If I had a son, I couldn't hope for a better man than you, John. Thank you. I laughed. If it's confession time, I have to admit that the word mom has come out of my mouth a few times, but the names I've come up with haven't been nearly as pleasant. She laughed, slapping my ass. I hope so. Believe me, there have been times when I've deserved very different names. I hope you'll call me the same in the future. She turned around and I couldn't resist slapping her ass as she walked away. She jumped slightly, shrieked and giggled. Fresh! I'm going to take that to the rotten stuff you have stashed in the back. Maybe it's her ass. You know how they say a guy can look at his wife's mother and see what she'll be like in 20 years? When I first saw you, I can't tell you how happy I was. She laughed. John, are you flirting with me? I call it as I see it, beautiful. Ed's lucky. That's the way it is. I don't want you boys comparing notes over a beer. You can't know how lucky you are. I hadn't seen them for at least 3 hours, except for one brief appearance when Kelly walked by on her way to the kitchen. She was wearing my t-shirt again. When she returned, she had an open bottle of wine in her hand. She stopped in my lap for a brief visit and a little kiss. I'm sorry we took so long. Your wife asked me to tell you that she promised to make it up to you. No problem. You guys having fun? She smiled sadly. It's not all fun and games. Far from it, but she tries not to show it. There are still problems to solve, but Carol is a godsend. You were right to summon her. The second best decision I've made in the last 24 hours. She grinned and kissed me. What was the best part? You know, I told her. Yes, but I want to hear it. Indulge me. Of course I do. And not just because you're so damn talented. Yes, isn't it? The second best little gift of your life. Holy shit. Thank you. For a small gift? She teased. For everything. You're the best, Angel. Except for the little gift. Will I still get my tip? You know that. Now, go before Carol comes for you and I'm back in the doghouse. She stood up, leaned over and kissed me. Silly boy. She'll be jealous. I think Mommy's partial to you. Don't be silly. Say what you will. She's singing dithyrambs to you, she said, holding a shirt in one hand and a bottle in the other. Put that shirt on. I shouted after her. She just laughed. It was almost midnight when Wendy and her mom came out of the back room. Their eyes were tearful and they hugged each other at the door. I went over to say goodbye, and Carol hugged me and kissed me, with her lips lingering longer than a mother-in-law is supposed to. Don't you dare lose it, Carol warned her daughter. I know. You'll have to get in line behind me and Kelly to kick my ass if I do. Carol laughed. It's going to be a lot longer, believe me. The only thing longer will be the line to take it out of your hands. As soon as she was out the door, Wendy slid into my arms. We've neglected you too much tonight. Turn everything off and go to bed, husband. I kissed her warmly. You don't need to ask me twice. It took me a couple minutes, but no more. The sheets were spread out and my wife was waiting for me. As I slid over to her, Kelly came out of the bathroom. I could hear the water running in the tub. She sat down on the corner of the bed, back in her birthday suit. I was going to catch a cab and try my luck tonight, but it's late and I think I've had a little too much to drink. Do you mind if I stay the night? No charge. She looked a little nervous. Wendy took my hand in hers and squeezed it. I had no idea what that was supposed to mean. Sure, relax, take it easy. I'll give you a ride in the morning if you want, I told her. Thank you, was all she said, after which she returned to the bathroom. Wendy was in my arms almost as quickly as Kelly was out of sight. She was just like me. Will you do this to me, John? Please? Between the teasing, my wife and the equally young girl in my bathroom, I was ready to do just that. I rolled over on top of her. Before she could utter a word, she was leading me to her, and she was like she had never been before. He leaned over and a very hot scene began, which I couldn't completely leave out due to YouTube rules, but I'll remind you again that we have it on Patreon. She smiled. Have I told you how much I love you lately? Yeah, but I don't get tired of hearing that. You're perfect for me, aren't you? Do you think you'll ever get tired of me? Get tired of sleeping with the same woman for the rest of your life? Never. It's a dream come true. She smiled. Did you really tell Mom you tested her to see what I'd be like in 20 years? You girls talk too much. Is that a yes? Maybe. Am I in trouble now? She pressed teasingly against me. Silly. Of course you aren't. When you first saw her, you were thinking about being with me 20 years later. Every single thing you do makes me love you even more. Will you ever be able to forgive me for letting you down? I told you. You were forgiven almost as soon as it happened. Now do you see why I was so upset? Completely. You had every right to do that. It's a miracle you let me back in the door at all. I cheated on you, over and over, and hid it from you. I disrespected you and embarrassed you in front of our friends. I put a terrible strain on our marriage. I'm not going to apologize for that again. Words alone are not enough. But I will make it up to you and do everything I can to make it right. We'll do it together, I whispered. No, I'll do it. If you're not satisfied with the result, then we'll see. Please let me try it first. I need to do it. Then go ahead. I'll be here if you need my help. I didn't tell her that no matter what she did, I would likely seek retribution myself. She sighed, relaxed, and snuggled back against me as I continued to do our thing with her. You like that better than a little present, don't you? She whispered after a while. I stopped half-heartedly. Of course. A little gift is too one-sided. I love the pleasure you give me with your mouth, but what we're doing now is incredible. I'll never get enough of it. She grinned. We'll see about that. I'm going to do it to you to the hilt, dear husband. All a man can dream of is those two things. I kept my face over hers, looking into her eyes, trying to let her know how I felt about her. Finally, she leaned her head back, closing her eyes. This was unusual for her. Usually she would only get like this after a long period of time. When we did it slowly, she felt it better. I pushed a little harder, but I didn't want to change anything when she was on her way. She stopped talking, her face tense, her neck tense. She shrieked and screamed loudly, almost ending our game. Go to the room, you two, yelled Kelly from the bathroom, laughing. Come to me, Wendy gasped. Love me. I was close, and I kissed her briefly before closing my eyes and immersing myself in the sensations. I felt something heavy on the bed and looked over to see Kelly wrapped in a towel. She leaned over and brushed Wendy's hair away from her face. Looks like someone liked that. Tears came to Wendy's eyes. How can you love me so much after what I did? She asked pitifully. How could I not love you? You are my soulmate. I started to step out of her, but she pressed herself against me. Not yet. Please stay with me a little longer. She pulled me down. I knew what she wanted. The years we'd spent together guaranteed it. Sometimes she liked to feel my weight on her. Don't leave me, John. Don't ever leave me. I kissed her face. Now you're being silly. You're mine. Always. Kelly climbed in next to us. I know I'm being selfish, but can I lay here with you two for just a minute, please? I've never been around as much love as you have. Wendy looked at her, reached out and pulled her hand to her. She didn't say anything, and neither did I when I reached up and hugged her. Kelly buried her head in Wendy's shoulder, and I felt her shiver. She pulled away abruptly. I need to go. Wendy put her arm around her. Don't, stay a minute. Kelly seemed almost panicked. No, please, I can't. I have to go. She slid off the bed and almost ran out of the room. I rolled from Wendy onto my back and she turned to me, hugging me tightly. We have to help her, John. She can't go back on the street. She's not who she says she is. What can we do? She's an adult. Did she tell you her story? No, she didn't want to. I tried several times to get her to open up. God, this is terrible. A tragedy compounded by stupid decisions. She's drowning. It's horrible, heartbreaking. We have to help her. We have to. If we don't and come out of this situation unharmed, I will hate myself. What do you want to do? I don't know yet, but right now, I want her back in our bed, and I need her to know she is loved. Give her back to me, John. I kissed her gently. Have I ever been able to deny you anything? She smiled. No. I want this as badly as I've ever wanted anything in my life. Please? Your wish is my command, dear wife. I found Kelly on the couch, curled up. She was crying. I sat down next to her and stroked her hair. I'm going to take you back to our bed. She shook her head. I shouldn't. I scooped her up into my arms and lifted her easily. My wife will never forgive me if I don't. Who would believe she would want someone like you in my bed? A fool like me? She said sadly. No, a beautiful, caring young woman like you, I teased. You're only making this harder, she whispered. That's the last thing I want to do, I told her. I want you to be happy. She shook her head. I don't deserve to be happy, she muttered. Stop saying stupid things. Everyone deserves to be happy. A wonderful girl like you is more than most. She shook her head again as I carried her through the door to my bedroom. Wendy threw back the blankets and laid down on the bed, and I laid a small lump of annoyance on top of her. I turned off the light and climbed in next to her. For the next half hour or so, all we did was hug her, stroke her, and kiss her. There was nothing overt about it, more like comforting, loving, and hugging. My wife quietly turned to me. Are you going to work tomorrow? I need to. I have things I have to do, and a client call I have to make. I'm not looking forward to it. If any of the bastards who were at that party say a word to my face, I'll probably have to kick their asses and let the chips fall where they may. Don't do this, John. Please, not in the office. Let me try to handle this first. Kelly was silent, one of her hands touching my body. With any luck, I won't have to. There were only 2 of them, and I don't usually see them every day. Maybe they don't know. I'm sure at least Paul knows. He was in the band talking to Tom when I found out what you did, and Tom was laughing when I got you out of there. Before we were out the door, they were all laughing. Do you think Tom's really going to tell about this? He promised to keep it a secret. How did Jared end up at the little present that night? I asked, certain I knew the answer. She fell silent. God, I really screwed up big time, didn't I? Kelly kissed her. Shh, it's you. It's just the way it is. Now we'll make it better, remember? I leaned over to Kelly and kissed my wife. Don't worry about that, it won't happen again. We're moving forward now. Leaning over Kelly, I leaned down and gave her a long kiss. I'm tired already. It's been a long weekend. Why don't we all get some sleep? I don't want to be between you and your wife, Kelly whispered. It's not right. Switch places with me? We did so, and I dozed off. 2 beautiful women snuggled up to me, and I hugged them both. I couldn't think of a better way to fall asleep. I woke up alone, which was a little disappointing. I liked being woken up with a little present. I went into the bathroom and cleaned myself up, rushing a little as my alarm hadn't rung yet, and I was almost an hour late. My office didn't adhere to a work schedule, but I liked to come in early to see when everyone else was coming in. I guess one day wouldn't take away from me. The girls were finishing making breakfast, which was usually a very simple meal for me. They were both wearing my t-shirts, and I had to admit that they looked better in them than I ever had. Wendy turned and faced me, gave me a hug and a kiss. I was going to give you a little morning treat, but when I went to look for you, you were already in the shower. You're always welcome to join me, I told her, giving her a kiss. We hadn't done this sort of thing often, at least not in the last few years. She pouted. I'm such a fool. I didn't even think of that. Do you mind? The mind? Never. I like bathing with you. She grinned. Good. We'll be doing this many more times. Save some water. Kelly came over and gave me a quick kiss. Good morning, handsome. Thanks for last night. It was probably the best sleep of my life. She picked up a couple plates and carried them to the table. Tell her she can't go, John. She can't leave today. I still need her help. Please. I laughed. You can't leave, Kelly. I'm sorry. The old ball and chain has spoken. I still need your services. Kelly didn't laugh. No, you don't. That's what you have a wife for now. Please. She wants you here, and I want you here. Do you have to leave? I asked. John, every minute I'm here makes it harder. I don't want to keep you and Wendy from being together again. Wendy was finishing putting breakfast on the table. No, if anything, you're making us better. Please? I walked over to the seated Kelly and put my hands on her shoulders, gently massaging them. Think about it. We both want you here. I kissed her cheek and sat back in my seat. The girls were very quiet, but they talked about Wendy and I's first days together and seemed to be in a good mood. I didn't linger over breakfast, finishing my food and getting ready to leave. I gave Wendy a kiss. "Thanks for breakfast. It was a pleasure." She grinned and pulled me to her for a more serious kiss. When she was done with me, she said, "Kelly has been a big help. She's good in the kitchen. You should thank her too." Yeah, my wife was full of surprises. I walked over to Kelly and leaned in to kiss her. It was nice and soft and long. "Thank you for everything, Angel." She smiled. "You're welcome. Now go make us some money." I laughed and headed out into the day with more than a little excitement. The office turned out to be a non-issue, at least on that Monday. Work was work. Too many emails and conference calls, project reviews and decisions, and my usual visits to the engineers to see how things were going. Typical management by detour. As a director, I wasn't as involved in the day-to-day project work as I had been a few years earlier, but I still like to keep my finger on the pulse. I took a lunch break and went into the bank. My girlfriend got her paycheck in the evenings, and it was more than I could withdraw from the ATM. I thought about my situation at home, and I was more than curious as to what Wendy was up to. I also had my doubts about what she wanted to do to Kelly. I would want to help the girl, I really did. But not at the expense of my marriage, and I thought she might be a problem. You can't be in her shoes at 18 without having serious problems. In the back of my mind, I was still pondering what to do about the three assholes. Tom, in particular. He'd started it, the fucking instigator, and he'd have to pay. Big time. No way. I imagine there are those who think it's not his fault. No big deal. I wasn't married to him and the guys were boyfriends. It was my wife who lost her way. I'm sorry. That's not how I'm wired. Guys who chase married women are complete and utter morons. When they do that to their friends, all that awaits them is just dessert. This bastard was married. He has a wonderful, loving wife, 2 kids, and a great job. He had no business chasing after mine. On the drive home, I went over several possible solutions in my mind, until I had a pretty good idea of how I would at least start my revenge. Dear viewers, we are coming to the conclusion of the 3rd chapter of this multifaceted story of human relationships. We have witnessed deep emotions, a crisis in a relationship, and a thoughtful journey to recovery. The main characters have come together to overcome infidelity and change their future. But should the past be let go so easily? The realities of marriage, temptation, and betrayal, plus the complexity of human desires, present much more than the usual tale of love and forgiveness. This passage shows us that true love is a struggle and a work in progress, as well as the influence of environment and accepted circumstances on the choices we make. See how John struggles with his doubts and strives for peace in his heart and home despite the thorny road ahead. The value of forgiveness, the power of support, and the challenging reality of justice intervene in his story. And don't forget, the full version of these profound and provocative moments is available on our Patreon. Join our community to discover the full versions of these pivotal moments in history, of which we could only introduce you to snippets. Go behind the scenes of the most personal and darkest sides of these characters, and find the answers that await you in Part 4. What decisions will John make? What fate awaits Kelly? And what is Wendy's role in this mental maelstrom? All of this awaits you ahead.